What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video we're gonna talk about the Christmas banner that brings Christmas styles of Empress, Bokhon, and Noel. We were waiting for this banner because Empress is such an important character in Global, since she has a Global X style, and this Empress gives a very interesting AoE attack that heals. And besides, she can also give a defense boost to the party, so in order to resist damage. There's also Bokhon, a character that is a dexterity debuff specialist. We barely have dexterity debuffers in the game. He can also apply paralyze and poison. And there's Noel, that is a farmer, but can also be used in boss fights. Has good sustain, roll attacks, and single target with double hits. We're gonna talk about Empress first, since she gives the name to the banner and is the most interesting character overall. Well, we have 6 different styles of Empress in the game. The first one was limited, call it a try not to overdress. Then we got a platinum, and the only platinum, call it the power of the moon. Our remaining styles are limited. There was this summer, call it one special summer day. Then after that we got the Global X, call it at the victory celebration, one of the best styles in the game. And then after that, New Year's, dedicating the Saber Dance. And the current Wintry Night Festival that we can summon on Christmas banner. I believe we can compare the Christmas style with the Global X because they will try to do some of the same stuff, while the Christmas is more offensive. As you can see, we have 115% STR, big jump when compared to all of her past styles. She can be offensive if she wants. Her endurance loses against the Global X, that's much more defensive, but 70% beats all of her past style. It's not that bad. Her dexterity is 75%, a very safe number, the same one as Global X. Agility is almost the same as the New Year style, exactly pretty fast. And intelligence is bad, she does not want to use any type of debuff attack anyway. Will is the highest one, even higher than the Global X style, 93%, helps out by not getting inflicted with ailments since she wants to buff the party. Love and Charisma are very close to the Global X style and does not matter too much. Well, let's click on this one. We have 115% STR like I said, and this is actually as close as it gets to the top, being 116%. The character itself has bonus and arrows for STR and agility. I kinda understand why they went this way because she's actually very good as a damage dealer too, but since she has fast attacks, it's kind of a waste. Could have been a bonus for endurance and will to keep her better on boss fights. But moving on, Focused Energy is the first passive, increasing damage when attacking weak targets by 20%, and she starts the fight with 12 VP. Well, this is actually very good because she can use on turn 1 any of her inheritance skills from past styles. The highest cost is 12, so she is very versatile. Then the second passive is called Accelerated Energy 2. When landing in an attack, she recovers 2 VP. So she has a cycle of 5 VP every time she attacks. She just won't get this to trigger if she uses the shield from the Global X style, because that one is not an attack. But for most scenarios, she is always getting 5 VP. That allows her to also get the best cycles if she wants to inherit a skill. Then the last passive is called Fired Up 6, increasing damage by 30%, and I know that this was not the best passive she could get. They could have given her High Protect Tension, increasing damage by 20% instead, but giving 30% damage reduction. Yes, that would be the perfect scenario, but I guess they didn't want to make her so much better than the Global X style, so people could choose depending on the situations without one just outclassing the other too much. Since this Empress has a Scrum Guard, and she also has Indomitable, that decreases damage even further, so she actually takes very low damage most of the time. While this one would take more damage, has higher risk, but better cycles. You see, they wanted the two to perform differently. So we have 50% damage increase, 5 VP per turn when attacking, and starts the fight with 12. We'll talk more about inheritances as we go. The first skill is called Holy Moon, and 2 VP AoE attack with only sun damage that also recovers all surviving allies HP by a very small effect. This is amazing. For only 2 BP, you get damage, AoE, and even heals all surviving allies. This was very excited when it got released on JP. I was waiting for this because we don't have many heal spells that don't use LP. Sometimes when you use one, you heal for like 1,500, but it's just a single target. Then we also have Steelblade Light, Steelblade Phoenix, that does not take LP. There is also ScherBR Girl that can heal as well. But then, 2 BP only. ScherBR uses 5. And, well, she may do more damage in boss fights, but sometimes all you want is the heal part. And because we have the Global X style that has access to Scrum Guard, decreasing damage by 20% of all surviving allies, this was a promise of good future. And it is. You now have Scrum Guard decreasing damage by 20% as long as everyone is alive. And you can inherit in the Global X style to make this one even better, because she also has the Imperial Shield and negates all damage for 1 turn. She can use this 2 times, but then after that, she was not exactly that good as a damage dealer. She had to rely on Half Moon or Quadruple Moon Strike that actually does good damage, but sometimes the damage is not what we want. Sometimes we are even buffing Dexterity instead of STR, so the damage is not even important. Now, getting the heal in the Global X style makes up for a lot of increase in utility. So, Holy Moon is good on her as well, and we need to understand her cycles better. So let's move into the second skill. It's called Imperial Swing. For 10 BP we have a fast attack that hits for a row of foes with double S power, slash and stun. The stun part is more important because we do have plenty of row attacks with slash and we'll get even more. It grants 2 different effects as well. An attack boost that lasts for 3 turns and a defense boost that lasts for 3 turns as well. The attack boost is 30% increase in damage, so she reaches 80% when attacking weak targets, and the defense boost is actually 20%, so she will get something to survive better. But this is only if you really need to make her a damage dealer in a fight where roll attacks matters, since the selling point besides Holy Moon is actually Christmas Moon. This is a full AoE attack that is also fast, hits all enemies with slash and stun again, and grants all surviving allies a defense boost that lasts for 4 turns this time and decreases damage by 20%. Well, Christmas Moon is like adding Scrum Guard in the party. Very nice. The cost is pretty big, 12 BP, but since she gets 5 EP per turn, she can use this before it expires easily. Well, first of all, Christmas Moon, like I said, is just like adding Scrum Guard. You could just inherit this skill here in the Global X style, but she can only use this on turn 2. And then she only gets 3 EP per turn, meaning that she needs all 4 turns in order to get back into using this. And if you are using Global X Empress in Tiger's Den formation, for example, by using fast attacks, you lose the formation bonus and you're gonna take much more damage. So it may not benefit Final Empress Global X style as it is good for the Christmas style. But then the Christmas style also need to use a different formation instead of Tiger's Den. We can use different ones, like Rising Phoenix X is actually a very good formation for the future, because that one adds aggro in one specific slot where I usually place Polka or Golden Ball there. They like to get hit and also buff the party or themselves. And after that, if the fight is against a boss that uses magical attacks, you can even bring someone like the last version of Gustav that also applies a shield that decreases magical attacks, and you can bring any version of Final Empress depending on how you want to perform. Because, let's talk, Christmas Moon uses 12 BP, right? And then after that you can use Holy Moon 3 times to heal the party, and then on turn 5 you reapply Christmas Moon. Since this attack is fast, it means that it will always go before the boss, allowing you to decrease the damage before you receive damage. But it's locked out of Tiger's Den because their fast attacks are actually detrimental. So depending which type of boss you are facing off, like the egg is very hard. We need to use Tiger's Den or else we can't survive. Although sometimes you get hit for big damage because our characters will still go before the boss. Some of the attacks have some penalties on the attack order and the boss still goes first. So you see, there are plenty of different scenarios where you will want different rotations. But if you want and have another healer besides, I don't know, Rag Robin or your still a light attacker, you can go with Christmas Moon, and then you will be using a normal attack 2 times, and then when you have enough BP, you're gonna use Christmas Moon again. And defense boost buffs actually stack with themselves. Yes, just like with a skill that we have here in the game, it's called a Great Adventure, that Mask can use by inheritance of his father style. This attack here, Great Adventure, see, it gets a defense boost 3 times in a row, so it stacks with itself. So on turn 3 you can apply this, and then you get 2 stacks of minus 20% damage. But let's say you don't want to heal and you want to save EP, because in that specific turn you didn't need to heal, or you are using Steelblade Phoenix with Rag Robin, for example. That means that even though Holy Moon is only 2 BP, you can save to try to use Christmas Moon again before the first buff runs out. Well, you start the fight with 12. You can get into turn 4 with enough BP to use Christmas Moon there. So, turn 1, you have 20% defense boost. Turn 2, 20% defense boost. Turn 3, 20% defense boost again. And then on turn 4, you will have 2 stacks of Christmas Moon if you use that in turn 4. In that specific turn, you will decrease damage by around 36% because, well, it's multiplicative, not additive. It may give you some extra survival capabilities if you know exactly when a boss is gonna use the biggest nukes. And then after that, you get back into 20% damage reduction. Depending on the boss fight, the situations, this can help. But if you don't want to do this, just use Holy Moon 3 times for AoE heal, then went back to Christmas Moon if you want. But like I said, having access to the skills allows for many different setups with the Global Axis style. You can just get Scrum Guard to the party, decreasing damage by 20%, and then just heal. If you are using Pin of Peace, you will heal for a lot. If you are not, then maybe just focusing yourself in shields would be better, either by using this Empress alongside the Christmas Moon Inheritance, or just by using the Christmas Empress herself, without caring about the Global Axis style. There are 3 different builds, in my opinion, that can be used depending on the formation and the number of attacks and setups you will find in boss fights. So, adding so much utility to the Global Axis style is really helpful. Even though Final Empress can inherit any skill from her past styles, I will only comment on the better ones. The first one I want to talk is Waterfall Blade Plus, that comes from her Platinum style, and everyone has access to this. This is a very powerful attack and has 8 power hits for a column for slash and cold damage. It has double elements, so very nice coverage. If you are in a boss fight where there are enemies aligned in a column, you're gonna take plenty of advantage, since she uses 6 BP, recovers 5. Many instances of Waterfall Blade Plus can be used in a row. We also have the Impact for triple S damage and 9 BP coast. She can use this every 2 turns, but I don't like this too much since she has access to better stuff. The first one being from Lunar New Year's. Hazy Twin Moon is very powerful. It hits 2 times for 8 power and buffs her STR and agility when she attacks with each hit, and she can use this every 2 turns. That means that she gets big damage and even high chances to evade. If you are also bringing Peon of Victory from Matchwork, I believe that she can evade without that much trouble, but it depends on the formations and enemy behavior. Besides, there is also another attack that is insanely strong. Quadruple Moon Strike does not do much damage with the Rio Global Axis style since she's not offensive, but it hits 4 times with E power. That equals a start of 4S power. And she actually only spends 7 BP since she regains 4. That means that we can use this skill many times in a row. And when we cannot use, we just use a normal attack, and then damage will be good if you are bringing other buffers in the party. So I guess these are the best inheritances, but you can still inherit Imperial Shield if you want. But it depends on the situations. If it's important to bring Imperial Shield, maybe you are using Global Axis Empress instead. In my opinion, this final Empress is awesome. She has 3 very good skills. Sometimes you get a character that have only 1 good skill. Here we have all of them. And she brings Holy Moon for Global Axis style. This alone already gives her a lot of utility. She by herself may not be so important, but it's all about the whole idea of making Fire Empress even better. That's why, considering the inheritance, if you have the Global X style, I will rate this Empress with a triple S grade and a very good style to pull in this banner. Just as an extra info, in JP we just got a new version of Final Empress and she's actually pretty busted. She tries to go for all different status, but she has a lot of utility. The first skill heals a target and applies Heat Up Nidio, increasing damage by 10% for the whole fight. She does not spend LP, she actually can use this 3 times. Then this AoE attack applies Morale Down Small, Morale Up Small, and increases attack order by 10%. It's actually just small values for 3 different things, not that important, but we have this other attack here called Phantom Moon, that is triple S attack and heals a lot of her HP, gets her to max easily, and it does bring shadow damage too, but she's also about passives. She also gets 5 BP per turn, and look, Empress Unison gets 1 BP on start, so she actually gets to 6 on total, and gives Heat Up for all surviving allies. That means she will increase 25% damage to everyone in the party, including herself. This is unique, exclusive, and will be important in the future. She also gets damage increase and damage reduction, so she can use the same things that the XMas one can use, and even better, although we are pretty much 8 months away or even 10 months away from this style. And one last thing, in Minstrel review I said that his impact in global would not be the same as in JP, and it's probably because of the Steelblade Light or Steelblade Phoenix users, but also because we kinda don't have space to use that many support units that can also heal. Well, if you are bringing a token, usually you are bringing in 4 buffs, and then you bring sometimes a 3rd character that can heal just to reduce the stress on Polka. It can be the new XMas Empress or the Global X with Inheritance, for example, while Minstrel will do similar. He's actually still mainly a healer with PP and cleans secondary effects. So that's why I don't think you can use all of them all the time. You have to decide, although Minstrel is very good and many people will be able to use him instead of the characters I mentioned it, with similar results. Don't worry, if you like the character, go for him, but I still believe that Empress effectively gives more results. Now about Noel, we have 5 different versions of Noel in the game. The first one is an S style that you get by fighting against the 7 heroes. Then we got a Platinum, call it Vengeance is Mine. Then the first Limited, call it I Won't Forgive You Termites. Then after that we got a Welfare from the missions, Fallen Hero, and now Pretense of Peace. We can compare his status to the last 2 versions. They are not so recent, so he will be better in everything. As you see, 115% STR, much higher than before, Endurance on 93%. Dexterity is, well, a strange place. Sometimes they leave it on low values just to increase their status, and that's what happens here. Agility is on 87, better than any of his past versions. Intelligence is not used. Will is better than before as well. So you see, winning in everything save for small points of dexterity. Well, Noel itself has a focus on STR and Endurance, as you can see, with bonus and arrows for both, so he receives less damage from physical than magical. The magical part is pretty similar to Final Empress, and they also both share the same STR value. Interestingly enough, his agility could have been better, but he also has a fast attack, so that doesn't hurt him so much. 4 passives, the first one is called Tenacity. Attack damage increases by 10%, and if he gets killed once, he will revive with 50% of his max HP. It seems interesting because he can be tanky, and you can place him on the front line, absorbing some damage, and then after some time, he will just revive if he dies. Then the second passive is not that good. He borrows it from Minstrel. On the end of a turn, 25% chance to recover HP by around 800 and also recover BP by 4 points. In Remembrance battles, this is actually very useful, but in long fights against hard challenges, it's just about RNG. It can help or it cannot, but since he has short BP cycles, well, one of his attacks is just 6 BP, it just allows him to keep using it more than he could. Then the last passive is High Protect Tension, something that we wanted on Empress. increasing damage by 20% and reducing all damage he receives by 30%. So in the end, he gets only 30% damage increase and reduces damage by 30%. It's less than Empress, for example. And not much of an improvement. We have damage dealers with much better than that, but he is also pretty defensive, so I guess that explains. Now for skills, I want to start with the last one, call it Twilight Flash. It's a 10 BP fast attack that has slash and shadow damage and double S power. This is just like the counterpart of Final Empress. In his case, he does slash and shadow, she does slash and sun. They also share the same secondary effects. He gets an attack boost that increases damage by 30% and a defense boost that reduces damage he receives by 20%. So he can be pretty defensive because you have 30% here and 20% here. And 10 BP means he can actually use this almost every 3 turns. Well, he only gets 9 BP in 3 turns, but if he triggers a Revitalize, he would just be able to get enough to use Twilight Flash and keep the BP cycle. But he doesn't have a 0 BP attack that is interesting enough to just, I don't know, increase his STR or something. So he will just be using normal attacks before he reverts to Twilight Flash. That is, if you really want to revert into Twilight Flash, you can just keep using Horizontal Cut. This is a B power attack that hits roll as well, this time only slash. But if you are in a fight or in the Remembrance battle against Death Master and you don't have enough BP for Twilight Flash, you still get some value out of this. And he already applied the attack boost. That means that at least in this point he has a 60% damage increase, so Horizontal Cut won't do that badly. In on-farming scenarios, you open with a fast attack, and on the second wave you can still help if the enemies are still aligned in a row. Besides this, we have Air Dance Slash, the second skill that uses 6 BP and hits 2 times. The first one is Slash and Blunt with C power, that is 18 mod. And he recovers HP in global by small effect, that is 800. And that's actually his best attack for boss fights that are just one enemy. He will then activate Cyclone Kick, and this attack here also has C power, but this time it's only Blunt. It's strange, yeah, he's a sword user that switches between slash and blunt, something we kinda saw with his past limited style, and Zanshin, an attack that opens with slash and then becomes blunt when he counters. I don't understand as much, some bosses will be weak to slash and blunt, but, well, you'll mostly be using for blunt, since it's the only element that keeps in both hits. So, versatile enough that it just gives him even bigger damage than most other 6 BP skills we have in the game. 2 hits of C power, it's just comparable to triple S damage in the end, for example, while also healing. And, well, like I said, he is kinda tanky, he has very good endurance and will, so he's not gonna die if he's healing all the time. And if he triggers the Revitalize skill, he just heals. And in that turn, you can just skip using Air Dance Slash to save VP, and then have, when you are not on full HP, a good attack that also heals. Well, in the end, this Noel has an interesting setup, either attacking with roll on wave 1 and wave 2, or just cycling Air Dance Slash wherever he needs to heal and do damage. But nothing here is that important or that special. He's just there applying damage while being tanky, but there's plenty of slash attackers in the game and nothing he does actually stands out, sadly. For example, we have bigger roll damage with Virgil. He does 4S with Shadow, and slash will be easy to find. And the second skill is nice, but has some problems as well, and we will be able to find slash and blunt damage in many other characters, and he kinda competes with Leon in those 2 elements as well. As for inheritance, I don't think there's anything that is really worth for him. You could say that Zanshin is good for counter with blunt, but then I have this version of Noel and never really used Zanshin, to be honest. But his Platinum style will get an Amplify for Empty Blade, decreasing it to 5 VP coast and reaching S power. So, very good, but still just slash if you really want, instead of using his second attack that becomes blunt, for example. And from his Welfare style, Moon Slash will be amplified into C power. So, not bad if you really want to use him for AoE. But he's not exactly a character that gets stronger as time goes for boss fights, so I think he will work well when farming, but you will find better characters in boss fights unless you really need the extra tankiness and self-healing from Noel that, contrary to other damage dealers, can really be placed on the front without dying. I believe that in the end he's very comparable to some other people like Actor, that is another character that has big sustain, or the recent one that is Emperor. Emperor has a lot of sustain as well with his latest style, since he buffs his defense the same way. That's why I don't think he makes a big impact. He will only receive a standard SS grade and can be easily skipped. Well, as an extra info, JP got another version of Noel, probably 6 months after this one, and it's actually good enough, I believe. The status distribution is kind of similar. I think it will even be buffed in global, but this Noel can get 1 BP when he attacks, so by inheriting the skill number 2 from the current one, he will just get 5 BP per turn, allowing him to keep using it for many times. He also self-buffs in 1 turn and then gets attack enhancement in another, while also getting fired up 7 to increase damage by 40%. Not just that, he has 1 skill that buffs himself before attacking by 30%. That's very nice with only 1 BP, either fixing the past one or just making this one better. It has the same Zanshin counter that, like I said, I never use it. Or another attack called Maple Storm that grants him morale up that lasts for 2 turns and, well, has SS power. Reaching 4S when you consider that the morale up is triggered before the attack. So there is some future, although this character is never that relevant like some other damage dealers in my opinion. And now we reach the last character of the banner, Bokhon, and they changed him a lot for global buff and most of his status, and I like what they did. He became much better than his JP counterpart. He has a focus on STR and intelligence, but even then his STR is pretty bad. Well, he's not a damage dealer anyway. They buffed his sustain, so his endurance is 70%, not good, not bad, just there, but his will is a little higher so that he does not get inflicted with ailments when trying to apply it then himself. His agility is 90%, it's good enough to attack before most bosses, and intelligence 105%. He's not a mage, but his intelligence is big enough to land buffs. Love and charisma are very bad, but well, he does not need that anyway. When compared to his past styles, well, he has a platinum released close to the launch of the game, so you're only checking those 4 arrows. That's right, only that. Now for passes, we have Paralyze's Practice 2, and landing an attack, we have a 37% chance to trigger Paralyze on target, and this works for single target attacks and AoE ones as well. So on average, once every 3 attacks, he will try to apply Paralyzes. If the enemy does not have extremely high will or very high resistance, most of the time it will just land. Then we have an extra effect, a 37% chance to recover BP by 2 points. Well, since we have 2 effects, it's actually very nice. Paralyzes can work in some challenges and on tower. Now, the second passive is called Exhaustion 1 Dexterity. When landing any attack, single target or AoE, we have a 5% Dexterity debuff. That is a guarantee. It does not rely on chance. And will also recover 1 BP. Very nice because he already has attacks that debuffs Dexterity, so it just increases the value. And getting 1 BP allows him to use some other skill cycles. The third one is called Conceal, and when everyone is alive, he has a 50% chance to just evade. 50 is big, relies on everyone being alive. But even while he evades, you should still place it on the back because his endurance and will are not that high and he does not have any sort of damage reduction passive. Moving on for our skills, I want to talk about the third one first. Miserable Wish is a full AoE attack with 8 BP that deals blunt damage. 21 mod is not that big, but has a chance to debuff Dexterity by 20% on max level. First of all, this is not that costly and brings 20% while most Dexterity buffs are locking on 15%, and you will get actually 25 because of the passive number 2. That is a very big debuff right on the start of a fight, and will help against bosses that don't have the fire weaknesses or just have the fire weaknesses after, I don't know, you reach a very high their assault. Will also help if you are fighting against a boss that keeps self-buffing Dexterity every attack. because even when you bring buff breakers, they can only be used every 2 or 3 turns, so the buffing dexterity helps. Then we have Mirage Hit, the first skill that has a 4 BP AoE attack that has a chance to debuff dexterity again. So if you don't have enough BP, you're gonna use Mirage Hit, and then if you get BP by triggering Paralyzes practice, you'll be able to go back to Miserable Wish. Right now, we need to compare him to Bokhohn, because she was the only character capable of keeping dexterity debuffs at all times. All other dexterity debuffs are just too costly, and she has a 3 BP one. With her newest style, she gets 4 BP, and you can inherit, and she can keep up with the dexterity debuffs. There's one thing, here we have similar intelligence, right? 106% against 105%. But, well, Bokhohn will buff her intelligence with every hit, and the newest one can even buff with a second passive. So if your boss has very high will, Bokhohn may still be better because she will buff herself and have higher chances of keep applying the debuff. But if you can fix your Bokhon either by buffing with Matriarch or I token, he brings a better value for the debuff itself, beating Bokhohn at least on this regard. Once again, the good thing is that you have at least one cheap option that can be used at all times. When you go to JP, they have other characters that can debuff dexterity, but most of the attacks are higher cost, like we have this AoE attack with a version of Tatiana. Then there will be another character that can use Mirage Hit, but it's not a debuff focused character, and another version of M Black will be able to, but they don't have the passives that Bokhon has. All the other ones will have to spend more BP to keep debuffing, so it's not as good. Then with skill number 2 we have Naughty Gift, a 5 BP full AoE attack with C power and blunt damage. The damage is good enough, although Bokhon is not a damage dealer, but it carries 2 different effects in global, a medium chance to apply paralyzes and poison. And oh man, who can do this? We have Wicked Witch that can use this with passives. See, she has a 25% chance to apply both things when attacking, and she was very useful because of using Shrill, that debuffs enemies' will, and then eventually she would just apply either Paralyze, Poison, or both via passive. Now Bokhon goes and says, well, I may need will debuffer, but I can apply both with a guarantee. And that is very useful because if you need Paralyze, he's probably gonna land if you have other characters to buff his intelligence to increase and use a formation that already increases even further. And another interesting thing is that when you are running the Naughty Gift attack, you actually have 2 chances of Paralyze, one from the skill itself and the other one from the Paralyze practice passive. So sometimes, strangely enough, passive chances seems to guarantee good results if they actually trigger. And when you paralyze a boss, sometimes you can apply poison too to kill it slowly, like we did with the turtle in the past. So the skill itself is amazing. All 3 skills are good enough and makes Bokhon a very premium style that competes against Bokhohn, another very premium one. There's also something else in JP. He's the only club user that can apply poison, and there is a future remembrance fight where you need to apply poison to win. So you are getting something here that will serve you well in the future. And as for inheritance, he has 2 different options. From his Platinum style, he can amplify Crunching Blow to become an attack that has a chance to debuff STR, so you'll be debuffing 15% STR and 5% Dexterity. If you have other Dexterity debuffers, that can be an interesting thing, depending on what you want to do. And from his S style, you'll be able to amplify Seismic Strike in the future for 8 PP and medium chance to inflict stun. The good thing is that it's full AoE, but there is Matcha that is much better on doing this, and she can use every turn, while Bokhon will have to use once every 2 turns. There is no future version of Bokhon, at least right now on JP, so he is what you see here. And because of this, I believe that Bokhon deserves a SS plus grade in our tier list. But now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, yes. If you have Global X, Final Empress, I would say this banner receives a gold award because you'll be able to get a lot of different setups by interchanging skills between the Final Empress versions. While you also get plenty of value from Bokhon. He's the best dexterity debuffer in the game right now, and also helps with poison and paralyze strategies. Noel is just here, he works well, he's pretty defensive, but there are plenty of other characters that can do what he does, even if on different levels, bigger power but less sustain, he is easily replaceable. But the value is here, especially because Empress is a big player in the game, and getting more utility for her in the future will prove to be good. With all that said, this is my opinions. What is yours? Please say here on the comment section. Are you planning to pull? I will as soon as we get the update. So if you want to support the channel, there are links on the description. I hope to see you soon in the next video. Bye.